Next speaker.
Mr. Madison, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Todd Maddison, parent of Oceanside Kids, and a disclosure to all a candidate for school board in the November election. I appreciate all the effort our teachers and school staff have put into dealing with the COVID crisis. It's certainly difficult for all. I also appreciate all the effort district staff has put into the various outlines we've seen. But I need to point out they're all lacking one thing, what the majority of parents chose last spring, a plan for a return to full-time instruction in a way that's safe for our kids and our teachers. Note that the recent survey simply left this question off. The best way to avoid getting data you don't want to hear is simply not ask the question, apparently. We've now seen plans for partial returns for both K-5 and secondary. Both are incredibly complex. No one would describe either as ideal, and neither are plans for a full-time return. Meanwhile, we've seen other districts in the county launch their full-time returns. Del Mar Elementary started full-time school on September 8th. They also have a distance learning option. Somehow they've managed to provide what their parents want. In addition to the feedback we've gotten in the surveys and public comment here, I've also knocked on over 800 doors now, and I can tell you parents and teachers overwhelmingly want their kids back in school, as long as it can be done safely for kids and teachers. Last week, I actually stood on the doorstep of a Del Mar teacher. They told me no problem so far as well. Del Mar is proving a full-time safe return is possible. This morning, their COVID dashboard showed 5 active cases. With over 3,000 students and employees, that's a rate of 0.16%. 0 of those cases have been in employees. Even if our case rate were double theirs, that would only be 0.32%. It's not to say that COVID is not serious or real, or that we should not take all possible precautions. It's just data, not anecdotal stories, that shows if done properly, we can open up in a way that's safe for kids and teachers. Yes, I've heard Del Mar is a smaller district, which is meaningless because the entire district does not congregate en masse. Kids attend specific schools. The average school in Del Mar has 516 kids. The average elementary in OUSD has 518. For K-5 is 2 extra kids per school and an insurmountable hurdle. What's the difference between Del Mar's Sage Canyon Elementary, enrollment 624, and OUSD's Reynolds, enrollment 627? Financially, we see OUSD is getting $18 million in COVID mitigation funds. That's $1,100 per student. Is Del Mar somehow receiving more, or is it just spending its money differently on what its parents want, perhaps? Certainly, secondary schools are more of a challenge. We saw that in the plans tonight. But my point is, if it can be done safely for K-5, something OUSD doesn't want to do, there could be ways to do that for secondary as well. But we haven't seen that. Perhaps we need our district to pay more attention to what parents want for their kids, as well as our board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker. You're on, Todd.
All right, thank you. So,
thank you.
Hi, Todd Maddison again. I'm sure everybody listening at this late hour knows I'm a candidate for school board this fall. As the board and district staff watching know, I've been involved in helping increase parent involvement in Oceanside for years. I was the first parent representative in the LCAP committee. Stacy and I also led the district parent advisory committee, in both cases working to increase involvement and give parents more of a voice in our district. One of the biggest issues we have in our district is a continued drop in enrollment. Some of this is shifting demographics, but some is parents making other choices for their kids. That's not a sentiment I share. All 3 of ours have gotten an excellent education at Oceanside, but I can understand their feelings, especially when we combine that with the general sentiment we've heard. Why bother? Nothing ever changes. It's the #1 reason parents have always given me when I ask why they don't get involved. And now we see that reflected in current enrollment numbers, where we see an astounding drop this year, 1,261 students, over 7%. Parents don't feel their kids are getting the education they want and are choosing alternatives. Parents have clearly said what they want, full-time in-person class, provided it can be done safely for kids and teachers. And the district has clearly ignored that, not even producing a realistic plan to do that so the board could consider it. If this enrollment drop holds, we're going to see $17 million less in revenue next year. Added to a projected deficit of $10.5 million already, that makes for $25 to $30 million in red ink, and that's in 1 year. We know what happens next if that happens. We lay off employees, we cut teachers, we cut services and programs for our kids. We've seen this movie before in the Great Recession. Our district has been in financial trouble for years and has been more than willing to cut from our kids to preserve pay increases for itself. We've seen that over and over again too. Last December, we saw the district projecting a $7 million deficit, but chose to add $5 million to that in extra bonus raises for district employees, including administrative staff who have a median total compensation of $158,000 a year. This board, including my opponent in this race, voted unanimously in favor of those extra bonus raises, just a few months after cutting bus service from the Latino kids in Crown Heights. We need to do something different to deal with this in the coming fiscal crisis. We need to put kids first in our decision-making process, not district first. That's going to require a change in our school board. Everyone listening who feels they can't count on the current board to put their kids' interest first is encouraged to go to my website, todd4kids.com. That's todd4kids.com. Find out more and support me, Todd Maddison, in this election. Let's put kids first in Oceanside. Todd Maddison for school board. I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.